Welcome to the video where I will show you my finished works for January, and we will start from this pile. All books are by Hampson. Of course, in January I mostly thought about this Winter Wonder. It's a book which I of course color more frequently during winter season, and then it will have to wait until next December. Even if pictures are lovely, but I'm a seasonal colorist, so while it's still winter, I wanted to do something here. And in January, I finished a couple of works. The first one is a very detailed one. Here I did the toy maker. Of course, with such amount of details, on the first step you feel very overwhelmed. How to distribute colors that everything looks cheerful, like it has to be inside of the toy maker workshop, but in the same time more or less balanced. So I decided that those accents of red color will help me, and I absolutely love to do such dark backgrounds on such dark blue color, white snow, snowflakes, they always look nice. So this one was my first work, and when I finished it I thought that, oh no, I need a break. But honestly, I was so in love with this book that almost immediately I started to do the next one. But here I thought that maybe I need something quicker, so once again I combined markers for the background, for the wall and floor, and then Prismacolor pencils. I still don't know which pencils, Prismacolor or Polychromoses, I prefer in this book. For this one I used Prismacolors. My choice was defined by this landscape behind the window. All those beautiful light blue colors which we have in Prismacolor. Blue lake, blue slate, lilac, powder blue, and together with all those imperial violet and blue violet colors which I used on the sky, they are very beautiful and very helpful for winter landscapes. So that's what defined my choice, and this one was done with Prismacolors. I especially love combo of all those goldenrod mineral orange colors which I used on Fox, together with aquamarine colors on her sweater. Very lovely, and that was my favorite element here, apart from the landscape. So definitely I hope that I will do at least one page here in February, and then I will put it on the shelf to start doing something again next December. Also, I finally started another journey by Mr. Fogarty. Now we have this Lost in Time. Again, I had some ideas to color in order, but unfortunately the first page was slightly similar to many other pictures in other books by Hampson, where Mr. Fogarty is chilling inside the boat. Yes, I understand that it's a very favorite time for frog to have break in such way, but I wanted to color something different, even if snail was totally adorable. So instead of coloring in order, I decided that I will do this Roman sonnet. I simply fall in love when I realized that actually we have a narrow and matches, and in a moment there will be a huge catastrophe in Rome. Very lovely idea. Here there are areas which I do love, especially how I colored both frogs, two main heroes. I varied a little bit red colors here, but at the same time, thanks to the magenta red and more classic carmine or crimson red colors, they look like focal points here, but slightly different. Where I struggled, it's here. I had a very clever idea to add kind of mosaic, because of course when you look at ancient Roman buildings, there were beautiful paintings, frescoes and mosaic, but I simply wasn't able to draw it normally, and in the end it looked so awful. In the end I covered it with blue. Even if now it looks maybe too intense, at least it made good connection with this blue color. So that's how I justify this very vibrant blue stain. Also on this page, couple of my Ohuhu markers, some of my favorite colors finished, and it was such a sad thing. Mostly in Ohuhu I prefer to use either their interesting shades of gray, they have such nice hue of yellow gray or red gray, and of course they are almost finished now, and all those beige and cream colors. So I was very sad because some of these lovely colors and light blue colors, they started to end. Well, but at least I did my first picture in this book. I hope that at least one page in a month I can do. That's my intention. And finally, I started Steampunk Revival. I had it, I purchased it a couple of months ago, but I purchased it together with Winter Wonder, and of course I realized that first I need to color in Winter Wonder, and this one I can color through the whole year. You know, if you follow my channel, that I have a bad habit to test new art supplies or new ideas on the title pages. And very rarely my title pages, they are finished and beautiful. Here I decided to do a background using gel crayons, like this one. I have a small set of these King Art crayons, and first I started to use them in totally wrong way, similar to neo colors. It almost ruined one of my pages in Mythographic. It was a couple of years ago, and since that time I almost never use them. So finally I decided to use them similar to distress inks, putting a little bit of color here with brush. I think that result is quite lovely, but I also added second layer to make background more interesting using stencil and distress inks. So I added those bricks. The main image I did with polychromos pencils, which I absolutely love for all types of metals, for metal like gold, for steel, for copper. In polychromos set you will have pencils for all those types of metals. But for flowers I decided to experiment again, and I used Irojiten, Japanese beautiful pencils. They are very aesthetically pleasant pencils. They very lovely to look at, to hold at, and they have very interesting colors. Unfortunately, I have only several of them. I purchased them open stock 4 or maybe 5 years ago, like a traveling souvenir from Czech Republic. They were available in bookshop. I was very happy. I purchased several interesting colors, even if I knew that they feel hard, and that's not kind of pencils which I usually prefer, but I totally loved their colors. And finally, after 5 years, I decided that I need to use them more frequently. Before, I used them only for color accents on top of markers, and I think that it's the best way to use them. Here I managed to do leaves and flowers, but for this thin and, well, quite average paper, they are definitely not the best choice. Even with their beautiful colors, process of coloring, it's not very pleasant. They layer down quite well thanks to their transparent oil-based core, but they still feel dry and hard. Maybe on thicker and more textured paper result could be much better. So I will continue to use them because I love colors, but definitely not in this book. I gave them second chance here. I started to color with them with almost the same colors as on the title page, those leaves and flowers. Then I told myself, no, it's enough. So here I have 3 brands of pencils, starting with Erogetan, and then all those wooden or golden frame, and the honeycomb I did it with polychromos pencils, and in the end I switched to Prismacolors to color the bee. For me, it's not like a real bee, it's something similar to jewelry. When I colored it, I thought about beautiful jewelry pieces of Lalique. Maybe because those Lalique glasses, they reminded me about those colors which I used on wings. So I'm quite pleased with this one, even if I started it without any thoughts, just to spend time without any intention to do something special. But now I consider it as a very good start to this book. I love this one. You know that I love to color metals, so I hope that this one also will appear on my working table very frequently, and my aim to add at least 1 page in a month together with Mr. Fogarty. So Russell Hampson definitely will be one of my artists of the month during this year. Very happy with my start here. In Matchstick Mouse, I managed to do 2 pages, and we had a lot of snow in January, and Happy Mouse family also had a lot of fun. So here they played snowballs, here they tried to clear snow. I'm glad that here I had all characters, the bug, the worm, tiny mice. So I experiment a little bit which colors I can use for skies apart from traditional blue, because when you do blue shading on snow, at least for sky, it's really interesting to use something different. Between 2, I think that this one is my favorite, maybe because of the slightly more unusual color palette, but well, I had fun with these 2 pictures. Maybe lesser amount than I expected to color, because again, maybe I will do something here in February and then it will have to wait until December. I usually don't color in this book through the whole year, so I would love to have better progress, but at least 2 pictures, it's also not a bad thing. One of my promises to myself for this year was to finish finally one of the books by Teresa Goodrich. And my 2 most colored books are Main Street and Country Kitchen Charm. So in January I added 1 page to Country Kitchen Charm. I did with shelves. On one side, it's similar to many other pictures in Teresa books. I already did many pictures with such shelves, with kitchen utensils, with tableware, but every time I try to do at least something different, and this time I decided to do this green tiles behind the shelves. I think that this beige, green, gray color which I selected, it created very good contrast to the things which are standing on the shelves. As usual, when I have group of various objects, I try to divide them into several color groups. So we have several intense red color accents, something in pale lavender color. I think that even with various objects on the page, in such way you can achieve quite well balanced page. So +1 in my Country Kitchen Charm. Wish me luck to finish it until the end of this year. In January we selected Theme of Angels as monthly theme of color with Ukraine color along. It was difficult for me to select which angel I want to do, but in the end I think that I did perfect choice. I selected not very peaceful angel, but this one with sword, and it of course was inspired by Saint Michael, who is protector of Kiev, my city. So I think that it was perfect choice. Here I immediately fall in love with the main image. Everything here is very beautiful. But what I didn't like, it's slightly complicated, too messy background. And you know, in the end, I do love how I colored angel, and I don't like this frame. For quicker work, I did those lines with markers, and I didn't like it. Markers really helped me to do this dramatic dark background and halo behind the angel. That was great. Yes, I added also a little bit of gold, but it wasn't very visible. I can see a little bit of shining on halo, but even with just markers it looked okay. How to color those lines? I had no any creative ideas. So when I look at it, I'm very happy with the main image, and I prefer not to look at the background. When I tried to select colors for him, I was inspired by several medieval paintings which depicted St. Michael's, and that's where I got idea of this rich magenta colors together with sky blue and violet blue colors. I decided to use all of them, and I think that everything worked quite well. I'm especially proud of wings. They are light, but in the same time they are not completely white, and they are not flat, thanks to the light shading between rows of feathers. So this one I do love, and it's mostly Prismacolor pencils because I wanted such unique shades as slate gray, powder blue, great lavender, and of course black grape, which I absolutely love. It was a huge help here, that black grape pencil. Speaking about winter pictures, I did one in Klara Markova, and it's absolutely adorable polar bear. When I selected colors for this one, it was difficult to decide to do a lovely brown bear or to stay with white colors, which maybe are better for winter pictures. In the end, I decided to do a polar bear, even if it was a little bit challenging. But dark blue background created good contrast, and in the end I tried to mask all black lines here with white paint. It also helped to achieve desired effect on fur. As usual, very detailed page. In the end you think, oh no, so many elements here, how to color them and not to create mess. But I think that it's one of my best works in Klara Markova books. I do love that all characters are visible, but definitely focal points are those Slake with gingerbreads and Bear. I had a lot of fun coloring his knitted head, and I absolutely love those Slake and all those gingerbreads. So I'm proud of this one. I also promised myself that I will try to color in Symphony of Cute Animals at least one page in 2 months, because I want to finish it one day. Yes, this moment will be ahead of time in the future, not in the nearest future, because I think that I hadn't colored yet even half of the book. But one page in a month, it's a good pace. In January, I did those winter birds. Of course, I tried to select during winter months winter pictures. Many of them Christmas pictures I finished, and this one I decided could be a very good choice for January. Background I did with watercolors. If you ask me if I'm happy how watercolor paints behave on this paper, I would say like 50-50. Watercolor paints could create quick background, they don't bleed through, so that's no problems at all. But how they spread on this paper, well, not great. If you use them as a base, as I did couple of times before, and then I worked on top with pencils, it was actually better. Here I used them as a background and then a lot of pencils on top. That was great. Here, well, just simple blue color background, but there are areas where I am not completely happy how it behaved, even if I tried to use minimal amount of water to control pools of paint on this paper. But well, that's okay, at least it created perfect snow atmosphere. I decided to divide my birds into several groups. All of them are adorable. I think that my favorites are this one and this one. I don't know why, because all of them are lovely. Of course, I needed a couple of cardinals. Then I did birds which are more traditional for my area, like these two. So, not the best page, but lovely, fun, and again, it's +1 into my finished project. I'm much more happy with picture which I did in Leon's journey. I was extremely happy to hear that this book will be also available on Amazon USA in English edition, so more people will be available to color these beautiful pictures. I finally finished this spread, which I started in September probably. I very quickly did 3 pictures, 3 elements, and then I stick because I didn't know how to finish the final one. Then I got distracted by Halloween projects, by Christmas project, and I totally forgot about this one unfinished element. And then I accidentally opened it and very quickly colored this one. Everything on this page is done with Prismacolor pencils. I think that even if subjects are different, in the end, collage page looks nice and balanced. I had a lot of fun, even if I still struggle how to color properly, color fur on Leon. Every time I try slightly different approach and I'm still not 100% happy. Maybe next time it will be better. And second picture, it's in the winter part, this one. Somehow this one was probably the easiest coloring in January. This one is very detailed, but as I absolutely love how Kanoka Yagusa depicts all botanical elements, it's such a pleasure to color her leaves, flowers, berries, even simple branches. Everything is so well thought, so well composed that I enjoyed every moment of this one. For poinsettias, I decided to use a couple of patterns, and what I love is that thanks to heavy shading between leaves, they really look three-dimensional, because previously my poinsettias, they look like pancakes, a little bit flat. Now they look better. And of course, birds, I think that this one is one of my best birds, slightly better comparing to the birds in Symphony, because bird is bigger and you can work more thoroughly on all those feathers and tiny color accents, from beige into gray, warm gray, cold gray, brown colors. So simply because of the size, it was easier to work. I decided to use a lot of cold colors from cold grays and with addition of blue and cold blue colors on the background. I finished it and something was missing. I did a break for a day or two and then I decided to add a little bit of work with white gouache and stencils. So I draw several snowflakes. There were a small catastrophe because white pigment started to absorb Prismacolor pencil, and now instead of a white snowflake I have a pink one. But well, that's okay. It still looks lovely. And later I also added those tiny drops. They look like fallen snow laying on flowers and leaves. It also was gouache and stencil. I think that it was a very lovely finishing touch. It added some dynamics or maybe some chaos to this page, but it was exactly what I needed here. So very pleased with this one. Final book which I intend to show you, it's Dark Fairy Tales by Rosanes, obviously. And when I started to color on it in December, it gave me such an inspiration, such a push, that since that moment I just can't stop coloring here. I finish one page and I immediately start to do another. For January I want to show you two fairy tales. Let me adjust a little bit my camera because book is huge. And I have the Snow Queen. When I looked at this one, I knew that it will be a huge challenge because here I did everything with regular pencils, no paint, no crayons, just Prismacolor and polychromasis. But that was okay. I really had pleasant time listening to some music, and the only problem was how to incorporate all those blue, turquoise and cold gray, cold green colors here, and at the same time to not to lose all the main characters. I think that left side looks a little bit better because here we have clear contrast between colors of the icy snow landscape, all those icy weaponry, snow clouds, and girl and reindeer I deliberately did with those warm colors, beige, brown, pale yellow, so that was okay. I stick a little bit when I started to color the Snow Queen. My stash of cold colors was already used, so the only area where I'm not sure in my color choices was the coat of the Queen. But I still think that thanks to the lavender and lilac hair, she is not lost. I even looked at very famous illustrations to Snow Queen book by Ukrainian artist. We have very beautiful children's book. And that's where I got the idea of this deep cobalt green color for the background. And here I really tried to show these dynamics that we have snow clouds, we have those icicles which turning into birds. So a lot of things are happening here, and I try to pay attention to each of the elements. So in the end, I consider it a success. Many interesting elements which you notice when you color, like this flying horse, but with swan wings. Very lovely done, and I'm proud that I finished such a huge spread with only pencils. Second fairy tale which I did, it's Hansel and Gretel, and we have it here. Actually, that was the first page which I started to do. I did several elements, then I switched in, and it was in December. I did the start of it, then I switched to Nutcracker, and I returned to it. Here I combined Prismacolors and polychromasis. I love to use polychromasis for fire. I think that color range of yellow, orange, orange red, deep red colors for everything we need for fire, it's perfect in polychromos pencils. But for edible colors like pink, hot pink, and cream and goldenrod, it's better to select pencils from Prismacolor pen set. So I combined both brands and I'm very happy with the result. It was interesting to color which. What can I say? Very detailed, but I think that in the end I managed to add some dramatic accent by this intense red colors near the cauldron and red-yellow accents here. I tried to limit colors here. In the beginning I thought that everything will be very colorful like witch potions. In the end I realized that no, I need to limit colors because everything is already very vibrant. But after I finished this one, it was quite easy to use many of the same colors on the left side, at least for the pleasant gingerbread house which we have on the upper part here. It's again Prismacolor pencils everywhere. I love how they work on this paper. Polychromos also work quite well, so I mostly select which brand to use according to the subject. All those deco pink, pink, blush pink, hot pink colors which we have in Prismacolor, they helped me to define which brand I will use for this one. I think that everything worked well. Maybe children are slightly lost, but I tried to use the same colors. It's logical to use the same colors for the dress, for the shirt, and well, they are not very visible. And when I did this bottom part, first I had no idea what to do with the background. Then I decided to try and to combine this yellow-green together with indigo. I think that it worked quite well. You definitely can see that it's a witch house, something dangerous, because we have addition of red color here, so it's not simply abandoned house, but really a witch house with something monstrous inside, and the landscape around. I think that I managed to do it in quite sinister way, so we have this witch forest around. Of course, all these pictures, they require a lot of time, but in the same time I enjoy doing them. I never really have huge problems like I sometimes have in Klara Markova when you feel overwhelmed by details, or in Hannah Carson where I can't decide to mask lines or not to mask lines, how to color in more realistic or more simplified way. No, somehow style of Kirby Rosanes, it requires a lot of time, but at the same time it's easy to color. Such pictures, of course, they require careful color planning, but I have a lot of fun with it, especially when you select picture like Nutcracker, but it's not our usual Nutcracker, a good character. You need to show that it's sinister, manipulative character. I'm very happy how I did it. That's December page, but what I enjoy the most, how to show this dark background of this fairy tales, like he is not actually a very good character and something sinister is behind this one, together with this cauchemar behind the Christmas tree, not the thing which we usually associate with Christmas tree. So that's what I enjoy here, and that's why I am so attracted to this book. I'm very proud of both spreads, and I hope that I will have the same speed filling in Kirby Rosanes books during the whole year. I don't want to abandon all my other books by Kirby, thanks to this one. So I will try to switch, but last year I rarely touched books by Kirby and I was quite unhappy because of it. I hope that this year I will have different approach, and in the end I will do a lovely video about all my new Kirby finished works. I hope that you also love this book and love Kirby, and I invite you to color together with me. Thank you for watching. It was lovely months. It was very difficult actually to live in January, but speaking about coloring, I'm very happy with my results. So thank you and until the next videos, I hope.